say congratulations to Joe and Maddie Maurer, Dustin Morris of the Twins PR department, tweeting that the couple welcomed two baby girls, new is redundant, two baby girls into the world. Emily and Marin Maurer, born early this morning, and according to Dustin, Joe made it back, so it sounds like maybe Joe is on his way back or is already back in Anaheim. The Twins play this afternoon at 2:35, wrap up that series, and then head to Seattle. But congratulations to the Maurers. Joe left the ballpark yesterday and headed back to the Twin Cities, so
and he's back for
hopefully
today's
good
game.
News, it says, and Joe made it back. Although, you know what he might mean?
Can he catch the day game after a birthing night?
Dustin might mean that Joe made it back in time for the birth of the kids. We should check on that, because that might be
probably what he means.
That might be what Dustin means, because he left Anaheim. I have a hard time believing he's going to head right back to California, and I don't blame him.
No, I don't either.
In a day and age of a very different where ball players are allowed to leave.
And they've got Herman in Doman. I mean, they called up Herman for a reason. They knew this. They knew this coming.
Got Herman.
How about Herman with that little lefty stroke?
You don't need him
going down and getting it. Yeah.
Joe is Wally Pipp.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't go that far.
That's it.
I wouldn't go that far. But you know, the Twins with their win last night got. I don't know. I don't want to say surprise power, but I mean they got a grand slam from Herman and they got a 2-run shot from Florimon, both in the 10th inning, where they erupted for 7 runs. Crazy game. I mean, it's a 2-2 game in the 8th.
Yep.
Now you get Justin Morneau scoring on a Domit double.
You got to talk about this though.
Well, okay, it's Domit doubles was it 1 out or 2 outs at the time? I forget, but it's a double to right field that goes rattling around the wall. I mean, it short hops into the fence. Trout misplays it. Trout charges at it like an idiot, and it bounces up. Off the short hops wall, goes up over his head. Right fielder comes in behind him, makes the play, gets it to the infield. There's going to be a play at the plate as Morneau is coming around third, and of course everyone's having concussion worries as you see there could be some contact at the plate. But Morneau very deftly, very adroitly slides around the catcher. I know many people will harken back to the Randy Bush slide against the Cardinals in the '87 World Series, where he dove head first and reached out with his left hand. Yep. This was a feet first slide by Morneau, which is advisable for somebody who's got concussion issues. He goes feet first and kind of maneuvers. It kind of almost does like a semicircle around home plate, and then sticks out his foot, just missing home plate, and then reaches out from his rear end with his left hand and gets it as he's going by.
And didn't you think he also it's weird, but when he comes in to slide behind the catcher, he sort of bounces, and when he bounces, his hand actually goes over the catcher's mitt, which has the ball in it.
Yep.
If his hand had been tagged, he would have been out.
Yep.
It was a great slide.
It's a great slide. It was a great slide.
If you've not seen it, check it out.
It's another one of those situations where I just don't understand why catchers don't stay back and wait for the ball to get to them. If he stays back on top of the plate, waits for the ball to get to him, I don't see how Morneau possibly scores on that play. But catchers have a tendency to want to creep up that first baseline. And we'll talk, well, it's a perfect day. We have Steinbach on. And this is something we talked to him about, obviously, the fundamentals of catching.
You talked to him about this a couple weeks, or 3 weeks ago after the Kansas City series. The Sunday game, you thought Maurer came up a little bit. He really didn't when we went back and looked at the replay.
Sometimes
this was
catchers creep a little bit up the first baseline, and it's a pet
Let the ball get to you.
It's a pet peeve of Steinbach's, being a fundamentally sound catcher and somebody who knows the craft inside and out. He says that there's definitely a tendency today for catchers to creep up that first baseline. When that throw's coming in from right field or from the cutoff man, they kind of creep up there because they want the ball as quickly as they can get it. But if you stay back, the ball's going to get to you more quickly than you could catch it and then turn around and tag somebody if you creep up too far.
Do you think there's any fear, too, among some catchers of blocking the plate?
Yes, or Buster Posey.
You're going to get where if you stand on home plate, and see, that's always dicey. When people say, well, you can't block the plate unless you have the ball, but if you're waiting for the ball to get to you and you're blocking the plate, it's bang, bang.
You can block the plate, just don't stick your leg out on it, like the Cleveland catcher.
No, but supposedly you're not supposed to block the plate unless you have the baseball. But my point is, that's an easy thing to say.
Yeah,
but the execution is the ball has to get to you.
Yeah.
So you have to be blocking the plate without the ball for a split second before you get that ball. And I've always wondered if some guys want to sort of bail out on that a little bit because of what happened to Buster Posey. Yeah. Because those hits at home plate can be brutal. And nobody, by the way, was better. And the guy who was probably sick last night, Mike Scioscia. Nobody was better at blocking home plate than Mike Scioscia. He was a linebacker.
And as much as shin guards protect you from foul balls, foul tips, and things of that nature, I think they're a detriment when you are run over, like the way Posey was. I think it lends to like an ankle snapping. It's almost like a brace that doesn't allow any give. And I think that the shin pad in some ways almost puts the ankle at a little more risk. Just because there's just no give to it, and something at some point has to give. And in Buster Posey's case, it was him. But anyway, that made it 3-2 in the eighth. When we get to the ninth, and now you kind of teased to this. You don't want to mock the 4-out save. I mean, Perkins didn't come in the eighth again last night, did he?
No.
Well,
No, but he had come in the eighth inning with 2 outs. He got 4 outs on Monday to get the save.
Yes, he did.
And he gave up. He came into the eighth with 2 men on, gave up a hit that made it a 1-run game. But then the Twins held on and won the game, and he got the save.
He did.
And Perkins went in yesterday and said, "I want to pitch again. If it's a save situation, I want to pitch again," which is admirable to me.
He's getting to the point of being overworked. I don't think he's available today. To be honest with you.
So he had no. I'm sure he's not. So he threw 26 pitches and getting 4 outs on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And I joked yesterday with Smalley and with you that I remember the days, and I'm not going back to these days, but I remember the days when the closer would pitch 2 innings easy, sometimes 3 to get a save.
Suter would do 3 all the time.
So Perk pitches 1 extra out, and I just sort of joked around that this is now a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
26 pitches. But then last night, what happens? Perk comes in to get the save.
Got the bases loaded with 1 out.
Gives up 3 walks, walks in the tying run, right?
Walks in the tying run.
And gives up a hit.
And he was on the ropes. I mean,
and then and so bases loaded with 1 out. So you would think that Los Angeles essentially has the game won.
Yeah, and he gets a double play ball to get out of it. So, I mean, it was a dicey outing for our guy. But I tell you what, I mean, it was shocking to see him walk in the game time run.
He walked Eric Ibar, by the way.
On a 3-1 pitch. I mean, the 3-1 pitch, you figure he's just going to throw some gas right down the middle, just try to throw by him. And, you can tell he's really trying to hump it up there. So, and he overthrew it and got inside out.
Yep.
So, but
I'm sure you're right, though. He's not going to be available.
No, I wouldn't think so. But, I mean, a 5-pitch walk with the bases loaded in a 1-run game, that is so out of character.
So was I wrong?
Well, I don't know.
It's 1 extra out. I know it's 26 pitches.
I guess we'll have to ask him Monday. I don't think he's going to blame the outing on Monday or the extra out on Monday. I don't think that's going to be the case.
It can't be it.
I don't think it is either. Sometimes you just don't find the zone. I mean, when you're 3-1 to a guy who you don't think is really going to hurt you, and you got the bases loaded at 3-1 with a 1-run lead, and you still can't throw it over. I mean, that's just he's having some control issues. It's just one of those days you can't find the zone. But he does come back on the very next hitter, gets up 0-2. And gets a ground ball to second for a double play, where it looked like the Twins were going to lose this game in 9. It looked like they were going to lose it, without even getting to extras.
Which would have been,
I don't want to say disastrous because you're not in it, but that's heartbreaking.
And I was going to say disheartening, which is probably over the top as well.
No, it
but
is.
You still
it is
had
disheartening. It is disheartening. That's exactly what it is. I mean, it does. Whether you're in a pen race or not, those kind of losses tear your heart out a little bit. And they get to the 10th and they just explode. I mean, how about Chris Herman? I got to admit, this guy.
That ball was hit.
This guy, he wasn't even on my radar when the season started. I'm not sure I'd even heard of him. When he's had limited opportunity here, he's been called up twice? Is it 2 times or 3 times?
I think twice now.
But they've been very limited opportunities. He's only been up for a cup of coffee a couple of times, and he's had a handful of starts. But have they not been productive? Does this guy not find his way into the highlight whenever he plays?
Yep. And don't forget,
it's unbelievable.
When he was up the last time, too, he can catch, he can play the outfield. He's a nice utility guy for
Seriously.
you. He can play a little left field for you as well. He can play the outfield as well.
He's had 2 home runs. Am I correct on that thing? But he's got 2 home runs on the year in just a handful of games and a handful of at-bats.
Yes.
And this one's pretty clutch. I mean, he comes up. The Twins had already scored a run. So, I mean, they'd already taken the lead in the 10th. And it's a 4-3 game, bases loaded, only 1 out. And basically, you're looking for a sac fly, just to tack one on, have a little breathing room in the 10th in the bottom half, and he jacks one out to right center. It was a typical left-handed power at bat. I believe it was a fastball, but it was knee high over the middle of the plate, and knee high middle of the plate is pretty much death to lefties. I mean, lefties hit that. It's always been a strange phenomenon to me. We talked about it before the show. That typically, not always, but typically lefties are good low ball hitters and righties are good high ball hitters. Righties like to get the ball up and drive it. Lefties like it down over the plate and they just go out and golf it out.
But think about the left-handed swing. I think the left-handed swing, as a rule, is just simply smoother.
Well, I'm going to give you some credo to this, credence to this theory of yours, because when you're growing up playing baseball, what do you see? Right-handed pitchers. I mean, you don't see a lot of lefties. Yep. I mean, in the league that I coach, we've faced a couple of lefties.
You mean the Rockies?
The Rockies have only faced a couple of lefties. I mean, predominantly the world is right-handed. It is what it is. I'm not trying to discriminate against lefties, but predominantly it's a right-handed world. And really, when you got a left-handed bat against a right-handed pitcher, number one, you're seeing the ball longer. The lefty's going to get a longer view of the baseball, longer view of the pitch than a right-hander, so he can have a longer swing. He can have that longer, smoother swing and get away with it. And I think it's also more difficult for a righty to get in on a lefty. The ball's got to travel far. It's got to come across your body. It's got to come across the zone and get in on it. So you really got a righty's got to throw it awfully hard to get it on a lefty.
You name me the last time you looked at a right-handed swing and said that's pretty. Left-handed swings, you say they're pretty.
Yeah, they're longer and they're smoother. I mean, just it's right-handers don't have as much time to swing, and they have to start it earlier because, for the most part, right-handers pitch inside to right-handers. I'm talking about kids growing up, like when you're playing Babe Ruth,
Yeah.
Little League, and,
No, I get
high
you.
school ball. Right-handers can get in on right-handers. Right-handers don't get to see the ball as often or as early coming off a right-hander's hand. So they got to start the swing a little earlier. They got to learn to fight stuff off. Or the lefty has the advantage of seeing it a little longer, getting it out over the plate, get that nice long smooth swing going. So I'm gonna give you some credence to your theory on that one.
Terry Steinbach talking Twins. By the way, today it is at 11 o'clock. The Twins play an afternoon game in Anaheim, 2:35 our time. So 11 o'clock, Steiny will join us for Talking Twins. We'll get into the Kyle Gibson start at that time.
Yeah.
With Steiny because Kyle Gibson, a nice outing last night. NFL teams taking the extra step to check out players before drafting them. There is an interesting dynamic there. And also want to get into a Aaron Rodgers tweet that's causing a little bit of controversy as well. All part of 3 and Out. Judd and Dubé from the RentersWarehouse.com studio on 1500 ESPN.